the end of the day again. But first off, being a Caterpillar employee, you want to talk about safety first. So I want to ask if there's an emergency here, if anyone can call 911. Thank you, Rachel. Got you over there. And CPR. All right, we'll have you help out. Thank you very much. And in case you're emergency take cover, I have no idea, so just headed out there. And please don't trip over the stuff along the walls or the bags. Again, thank you for coming. We're really excited to have you here. We have some pretty interesting women up here and some interesting perspectives on a topic that relates to quite a few people from all the discussions I've had just talking to people around this conference. When I talk about, when it says that we say it takes a village, what if we don't have one? This can mean all kinds of things. So in our discussion, it's more in the context of motherhood and moving away from family for work. Many of us have to do that, but even if you don't have to move away, sometimes we don't have family and all the obvious networks that traditionally we hear about. So what do you do if you don't have these obvious places to turn? And I think there's, again, quite a few of us have varying perspectives. So our conversation is going to be a little bit more informal. We want to make sure you have time to ask questions, but the four of us are professional women. We're all mothers in dual career families, but we also work in not only have we moved away from home, we also have worked in non-traditional customer-facing roles. So some of us have to travel at the drop of a hat and don't have someone to immediately pick up the pieces in case things go awry. And we're going to talk today about how we integrate motherhood, work, intense work schedules, entrepreneurship, and community service. So how do we do this without, again, these obvious support pieces? And in my discussions with my girlfriends here, one thing's obvious is it really does take a village. So what do you do to build that? What do you do to identify those villages, to build that, and to make sure that in that process you're taking care of yourself, your family, your relationships, and yes, you could try to get these networks going, but some concrete tips and tricks to figure out how to balance it all. Again, this is just the starting conversation. It's a pretty complex topic from everything I've talked about, so I'm really excited to introduce these ladies here. So we're gonna all right. Let's start the presentation. Okay. No, it doesn't really matter because I'm gonna introduce myself first. My name is Broma Banerjee. I'm a senior reliability engineer at Caterpillar. I have a desk job now, but I've been working there for almost 15 years. I'm based in Peoria, Illinois, and I have a master's degree in electrical engineering, and I've gone from designing controls on automated track-type tractors all the way to having a field job where you have to travel as a service engineer, and in case the electronics on these engines out in the field aren't working, and I've installed telecom modules on semi-trucks in Vegas in the middle of July. I've done all kinds, and again, I've got a data analytics type role. I'm working on building up a new warranty system. I've done quite a variety of jobs, but I'm also married, and I have a toddler son right now, and it's a little easier maybe with one child, but to make it more interesting, I'm in the sandwich generation because took a while to find a good partner. So I have older parents, and I'm an older parent myself. So I'm taking care of aging parents. I'm dealing with a toddler child and family that lives 3 hours away. And on top of that, while I was pregnant, I found out I was elected SWE Central Illinois president. So might as well make it interesting. So I love community service. Giving back to the community is an integral part of who I am. And I also have too many hobbies. I love the arts, I dance, I do all kinds of things. So how do I manage to keep that all going and stay sane? So that's more than enough about me. Jamie.
Yep. Hi, my name is Jamie Wenzel. I've worked for Caterpillar for a little over 14 years. Currently, I'm a product support rep on mining equipment for surface mines. I cover 9 states, and I work from after the point of sale to support the equipment when it breaks down, if it has issues, but the dealers are a front line of defense. So when they can't handle it or they need help from our product groups that design and make the products, I'm that go-between. I like to say I know a little about a lot of things because I gotta be that connect. So I gotta go find those experts that solve those problems for us and get them that data and be able to communicate that issue to them so they can help find those solutions for us. I actually started out in research engineering. I was there for about 3 years and I was dying to wonder what a customer did. So I went to the whole other side of the spectrum and I went into marketing and product support, where I've been for the last 11 years focusing on mining. I also am married. My husband is a materials manager at a local manufacturing company. I've actually moved three times, maybe 4 times for Caterpillar, depending on what you want to call move. I physically moved my home twice for that. And I'll come out a little bit more as we talk. I travel about 50 to 70% for my job, so I do leave my husband home with 3 little children. My kids are 4, 6, and 8, so that makes it even more interesting. And I have 2 dogs on top of it, so there's a lot of living things he's responsible for while I'm gone. So that's a little about me.
My name is Gina, and 7 out of my 9 years industrial experience was a Caterpillar, so I see some Caterpillar folks. Thank you for coming over to support us. And in my 7 years, I have a lot of expertise in hydraulic design, software validations, and engine reliability, which bring me my current exciting job as an excavator service engineer. Basically, I solve all the problems, technical problems, about the excavator for customers in North and South America region. I have a working husband in Caterpillar as well, and I have 2 kids, 5 and 3 years old, and I'm going to share a little joyful story with you guys there. Besides, in my spare time, if I have any, I enjoy a lot of hands-on work, like woodworking, refurbishing my furniture, and tune my piano. Also doing some kickboxing. Actually, a lot of us really have an intense exercise and play some volleyball. So that's a little about me, and we will talk about it in later session.
Good afternoon. I'm Rosalie Martinez-Hubbard. I'm originally from Miami, Florida. I've been working at Caterpillar for 15 years. I was recruited as an intern, so it started when I was a sophomore at Cat and really fell in love with Caterpillar and large machine manufacturing and interfacing with customers. And I have a mechanical engineering degree and what I call an MBA from the School of Hard Knocks. And you'll hear why. Right when I was taking my pre-MBA classes, I wrote a business plan and I bought a business. And my husband and I ran it for 9 years. So I got a lot of real world experience and spent my real world money, trying to make a viable business, which has been a blessing because I've been able to leverage all that learning into my career at Caterpillar and been a business manager and currently a life cycle manager, where I manage Caterpillar's strategy for engine parts, specifically after treatment parts, and help to understand, what's our strategy in that arena, how we're going to remanufacture parts, how we keep our inventory strategically in the right location in the world to serve customers like Jamie. Jamie's my customer, so I get bad calls from her once in a while. But the great thing about this is something that Paroma alluded to. A lot of us in this, or mostly in this panel, we have had very non-traditional careers at Caterpillar. Being in front of a customer means that whenever the phone rings, it could be a Saturday night, it could be a Sunday morning, we're expected to get into the field and troubleshoot and solve a customer issue. Because every hour that customer is down in a mining operation, it's just critical hours down. So sometimes you don't have a support network to leave your children or plan for something. So we have had to deal with this in a very unique way. So I hope you enjoy our panel today.
So when I talk about identifying a village, when we talk about where we live, this influences quite a bit of what your experience will be. I moved away from family to work at Caterpillar, and I wanted to hear a little bit more about Rosie's story. Not only has she lived abroad for work, she's also made some major life decisions just on where you live physically to keep up with everything you do.
Yes, I'll tell you a little bit about my business story. So I married into a farming family. So my husband I grew up in Miami, and when I moved to Peoria, I didn't know moved into a farming family and learned quickly how to embrace that lifestyle and raise cows and goats and chickens. So I lived in a very rural location, about 45-minute commute to work. And so my family business was also not just having a farm, but also having a feed store and selling animal products to neighboring farms. And it was a great opportunity for me to get down and dirty and understand customers from a farming perspective, which really helped me with my work at Caterpillar, because I got to understand what's important to a customer firsthand. So those businesses were very connected, but over time, what happened was that when I started having children, that commute and that sense of community wasn't there. So I didn't have the support network I needed. Living outside in a very rural location, nobody wanted to visit me. Nobody wanted to come out there for kids' birthday parties, unless I had a really great birthday party. Or, it was really hard to get that support network. I couldn't hire a cleaning person. I didn't have a dry cleaner around. And all of you are shaking your head. You're like, yeah, well, I didn't even have a dishwasher. So it made life a lot harder. And quickly after we had kids, about 1 year ago, we finally decided we're going to downsize the whole farm thing, because unfortunately it became a distraction from our core careers, my career at Caterpillar and my husband's career in a manufacturing facility. So we moved into the city where now I'm 5 minutes away from everything, and it's really been a blessing. So sometimes you do have to make those hard decisions, divest yourself where it's really important, and then naturally start growing in that new environment.
So it's one thing to move from the farm to the city, which in Peoria is more just like in town, but so Jamie, you've also picked up your family, moved again twice with 3 kids. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so a little bit to Rosie's point, I live in Minnesota right now, in northern Minnesota, and we were moving up north in Minnesota. My husband's like, I want to live on a lake in the middle of nowhere. I'm like, no, I don't want to live in the middle of nowhere in a lake. I'm sorry. We need a subdivision. I want that community around, and it served dividends. For example, like last week at Halloween, I have a 4, 6, and an 8-year-old. The 4 and 6-year-old gets so tired after half the subdivision, so I'm able to send my 8-year-old with one of my neighbors with her daughter, and she takes her around and bring her home like at 9 o'clock, and I get to go home and put my other kids to bed. My husband was traveling last week, so he was gone, so that really helps, and she's done that the last 3 years for me. So it's really nice to have that support network right there in my subdivision. So I really relate to what Rosie said. But beyond that, I moved to Louisville, Kentucky for Caterpillar, and then I moved to Minnesota with my family. And one thing, my husband's an introvert. He doesn't go out and meet people. I'm a social person, if you can't tell yet. And so I make networking a priority, and he understands that about me. When I tell him I need to go do this, I need to go do this activity, he supports it because I make those connections in those new communities that we go to. So it's really a priority, and it's not optional for me when I move. So one thing I do whenever I go somewhere new, I look on Facebook, I look at my college friends, I look at my network. Do I have people there to help me? Where I currently live in Minnesota, one of my good girlfriends from college, she's dating a friend from college, she's my hairdresser now. And then just because she's established in a salon in the city, which is great. I found my babysitter right away as soon as I moved to Minnesota from a sorority sister. And she's been an amazing babysitter for the last 3 years for me. I like to run. That's my one personal thing I do for myself, because there's a lot of work related and family. The one thing I do for myself is work out and run. So when I moved to Louisville, Kentucky, I found Moms Run This Town. I went to a meetup within the first week of moving to Kentucky. There was my network. Because what else are you going to do when you run for like an hour or two with ladies with similar interests? You're going to hack. You're going to find out about what the good schools are, where's the good daycare, where's the good playground, where's the good kids stores, where's the resale stores of kids stuff, because you don't want to buy all the kids stuff new. You just learn all this information. And my kids been starting to get into the elementary school, so I have a kindergartner and a first grader, second grader now. And I became involved in my PTO, so that's kind of how I get back to my community a little bit right now. And it just helps me meet the teachers. I know the principal now of the elementary school. I know what those papers are that come home every so often. And I don't just throw them, you know what I mean? There's like, what is this for? So I actually know what's going on in the school now, which is pretty awesome. And so that's how I kind of just put myself out there and try to find activities activities that I enjoy for my self-help and that my kids are involved in. And I even if you don't have kids, when I was in Peoria, I joined a running group there because I wanted to, Caterpillar people, don't get this wrong, I wanted to meet people that did not work at Caterpillar. Because you meet a lot of people that work in your company since that's our central office there, or one of our central locations. So I met so many people in the community, it was wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, when you talk about moving, Gina, as an immigrant to a new country, I would love to hear about your experience, because clearly that's a pretty dramatic change too.
First, I want to ask you now, so how many of you raise your hand if you came to the United States to study, and from abroad? Yeah, quite a few actually. So, 11 years ago, I came to the United States, as many of the international students left my hometown Beijing to Chicago to pursue my master's degree of mechanical engineering. And at the time, obviously, with no friends and family, I didn't just want to settle as surviving mode. But I always seeking some kind of connection where I felt I can take ownership and be part of this community. And I'm seeking an opportunity where I can find a place that I can plant myself, grow, and bloom. And I remember when I first joined Caterpillar, it's almost inevitable on a daily basis when you're dealing with a business with China, our counterparts, our suppliers. And at that time, I started to compile and learn about my own country and language and culture, and I read so much book of, written by the Western author about Chinese business dealing, and compile a presentation of a 6-hour course, Chinese 101, on the Caterpillar University. My first class only have 2 of my coworkers. But that vision has grown over the years, and now I have more than 1,000 audiences, which including USDA scientists, high schoolers, and 4-H. Even for a year, I have taught in the community college in Peoria. I think this is where the ecosystem that has to bring me a good network, where that not only I felt like my little niche, talent, or background has bringing some connection to our community, but yet that perspective of teaching or sharing my experiences really bring me a better idea of communicating with my current customer, right? As you know, like Caterpillar customers have a very diverse background and need. I really challenge all of you to think about your little niche. Maybe you're just out of college and trying to settle down from a new job, maybe ready to have your family. Trying to find that little niche where your passion and ability could trigger something, and out of your expectation and creating that vision for yourself. So that will be where you can find yourself to grow and move.
No, I actually think the toddler cry is pretty relevant for a little bit of where I'm coming from too. I mean, a lot of us started in Peoria, which is very much a Caterpillar town, but when I moved to Peoria, I actually am an introvert at heart, and I just decided to go with a fresh start. I put myself out there as much as possible. I reached out to old school friends, acquaintances, anyone, and now with social media, it's easier than ever. And I just put myself out there and desperately hung out with anyone I could who had lived in Peoria. I made the time to meet up with people and try to build those connections. And in the face of that, that takes time. And I know, especially if you have other commitments, it seems like you don't want to spend that effort. But I also decided to join some formal organizations. So I wasn't really that involved in school and college, but we have a very active section here, and it's been my lifeblood here. I mentioned some other interests I have. I'm into dance. I started going to classes. I didn't know anybody. Engineering and dancers are not necessarily a common overlap, but I would go to dance classes by myself, and now lo and behold, someone in my dance troupe is now one of my best friends, and is one of the 2 people who've ever watched my son for one evening. Really, when she brings up where your passions and your abilities lie, put yourself out there and really just try to explore some of your other aspects of your being. I mean, work is great if you can click with your coworkers, but like when I show up in the office, nobody looks like me. They take about 6 months to warm up to me because I'm really hard to talk to. But really, if I wasn't gonna get it at work, if I wasn't gonna get it in my neighborhood, if like I lived in a condo, it was really hard and we're all isolated. So now I live in a neighborhood, and when they have holiday baking sessions for the neighbors, I show up with my toddler in tow. He's playing with their puppy, and I'm gonna bake cookies with those neighbors that can wash my house when I'm on vacation. And it's these little things, these opportunities. You have your routine you want to keep doing. It's really inconvenient to go put yourself out there, but you know what? Like this time that you invest, it's paid off in dividends. I mean, when I was 6 weeks postpartum, my mother had a spinal fracture, and I had to go up there. She lives 3 hours away. I had to drop. She was supposed to help me out, and I ended up having to help her. And you know, I was reaching out to old middle school friends, old high school friends. You know why I could call them up? They were townies, and I could call them up because I maintained connections. So I make it a priority. When we say networking is a priority, I will drop everything else for a close friendship. I will, when you're new to a place, I will spend the time and put myself in kind of awkward situations, boring situations. I'm willing to get uncomfortable because I need to connect to people, because from all of our discussions to prep for this, you can't do it alone. And we want to make sure that you guys have some new things to think about. So how about Gina, you expand a little bit more on your passions and how you actually incorporate your family with that, because I know clearly both of us have quite a few extracurricular activities that we need to keep ourselves whole.
Definitely especially have a lot of volunteering and social commitment that can take a lot of the times, and driving, a lot of times we were thinking that driving a time away from your family, and also when you're ready to make a commitment to step up as a SWE leaders or any of the non-profit organization. Sometimes that time commitment can be intimidating. But I want to share you one story where I have shared not only my passion, but also a value of serving and giving to my daughter, and also we have thrived, when actually doing this community services. So before I had any kids, I was always playing a lot of piano at the retirement home with tech boards, and let's drive a lot of times. So there are like more than 30 residence houses in town. So we do this year round. And even I take 2 years old Amelia, along with me, with my husband watching her, and she always had a blast when we had a recital or rehearsal. I remember maybe that's the time that she started to, getting the little sparkles of something that is so desirable to do, and she started loving to play the piano. Fast forward, by the age of 4, I no longer to actually support being the piano accompaniment, but the journey of serving our community has never stopped. On a monthly basis, we always go to the local residence house to either serve or play music. And even I remember last year, in Christmas time, we had a 14-minute show where Amelia would be playing music, and we would play a duet together, and sometimes she would be singing, the Christmas song. On the way back, she mentioned to me in a very innocent way, she said, "Mom, I'm so proud, I'm so happy." And that is the moment I realized that it's not only she enjoys what she does and enjoys music, but she knows that serving others, that music is relevant to others, is such an enjoyable way that she understands the feeling of connecting with others to what she's capable to do, even as a 4 years old. I want to share this story, not because we just came back from Carnegie Hall, where after her, this Tuesday, after her debut in Vienna, Austria. But also, I think excellence has to be relevant to others. And that is only meaningful when you connect the excellence with the serving and connected to your community. I want to share this story because maybe one of you are ready to make the commitment, but still hesitating because you often felt the family, the husband, the boyfriend, the family, your personal time, your kids are on the other side of the scale. But that's not necessarily true. I want to share this story because having a legacy and a to serving our community, it's not only what's we about, but also it's what to take to build our village. So I know we met, Paroma's family, many times in our technical tour, our recent technical tour. I know that we really, bring out our family to, engaging with our community service, but sometimes kids really enjoy these activities as well. So I want to test you because I know that it takes a lot of time, and your families are, away, and you're still making tremendous commitment as, as a still active member with our sweet CI, Central Illinois. So tell us a little bit about how you balance that.
So as she mentioned, I did see the little one over there, and I have definitely been that person bringing my son along to the tech tours, any sweet event I can. I still am involved in the dance world because I help with a lot of fundraising activity for a local domestic violence prevention group that I'm on the board for. So if there's dance performances, I bring my son along, and guess what? That's the world he's gonna know. So admittedly, he can't tell me that he doesn't want to go right now, but he seems to love the dance, the music, and the performance, and I'm bringing him along to sweet events. Although apparently a strongman club didn't go well with my husband yesterday, so we're pushing it. But the thing is, from my experience growing up, my mother was actually a scientist. Both my parents were scientists, and my mother was a real working mom. But not just working, at a pretty high level functioning job. So she devoted, the second she came home from work, it was family 100%. So she was running after me and my sister from the moment she woke up, came back from work, and nonstop till she crashed at the end of the day. I never knew my mother as anything but a scientist and my mother in any other function. And the second me and my sister left the house, and she was an empty nester, now she's too busy to talk to me. So she's head of her Writers Club. She led the IEEE section of Chicago for 2 years, and she's off having lunch with the ladies. And growing up, actually until about 3 years ago, I didn't think I wanted children. I happen to find a good guy that makes me feel confident that I have an equal partner, and I will not discount the importance of that. Again, if you're earlier on in your life and you're making these decisions. I actually didn't think it was a good example. So I thought it would be all or nothing. It's just work and devoting everything for my family. And now that I'm an adult, I realize that you can make decisions, or you can drive things to actually incorporate these other aspects of yourself. She didn't have to wait until we were that old to start doing these things that made her more of a full person, to make those connections. I know she gave everything to us, and I think that she's a little bitter that she didn't really get to do some of that on her own, and I think we might have had a happier mother if she actually spent some of the time to take care of herself, to actually get the rest, and I'm being perfectly honest here, but there's some lingering resentment that sacrifice. She never made us feel like we weren't worth her time. We always felt like we were the joy of her life, but I don't want to wait until retirement to do these other parts, to experience these other parts of my life. So you know what? If it's all my son knows that he's going to be coming along for the ride, I think that's a great influence to know that my community service work, it's just a given that you're going to be coming out there, maybe you're going to be reading at the Center for Prevention of Abuse with me, because that's what I do. And my husband is certainly helpful, and I just want to bring my family along board, because it shouldn't have to be either or. I want it to be, when we talk about work-life balance, I don't know if you've noticed, but now we talk about work-life integration. It shouldn't be just two sides of the scale. So just think that you might want to be the sacrificial person, giving up everything because it's all for your children, but I have a perspective that you might not see the next generation. What is the example you're going to set for that future generation? My son now sees a father that actually cooks a meal, that is helping out at home, that he sees that his mom is going to go out and she's going to spend a little time at our print club, because that's just, she needs that artistic outlet. She's going to spend that time. And when I'm home with him, I am present, I'm 100% with him, and he's involved in everything I do. So that's, hopefully you can bring your friends along with some of these hobbies you have too, because like if you're gonna have to work out, maybe you can have a friend join you, like I know Jamie and Rosie have. So definitely think that's something to consider. So how about you, Jamie?
Yeah, so I'm with, well, all of these ladies, that you really need a true partner. As I said, I travel quite a bit for work, about 50%. So I make sure when I'm on the road, I work hard, but I also take care of myself as well. I'm in a business that networking is really important, so we go out to dinners, there's social events. So when you're on the road so much, you kind of got to come up with your personal rules. So my personal rules is nothing good happens after 10 p.m. So I turn into a pumpkin and going to bed. But that's because I want to work out in the morning. If I got to get up at 4:30 or 5 o'clock, I get that at least that half hour in, because that's my self-care. There's no excuse for me to miss out when I'm away from my family. And then 2 drink minimum, or maximum, not minimum, 2 drink minimum, maximum. 2 drink maximum. So there's no reason to get sloppy at work. So that helps out with getting up early and getting my workout in. So it's just, as you have this kind of life that you're on the road a lot, you got to realize what's your things that keep you balanced and keep yourself together, and make sure you get that done. Because when I'm home with my family, I like to be present as much as possible, and I like to say me and my husband live our lives an hour offset. So I go to sleep by 8:30, 9 every night, but I get up at 4:35 a.m. to get my half hour to myself to work out. And he gets up around 6. So I get my time in the morning, he gets his time in the evening because he stays up later. So that's how we also balance our own personal time while we're home with each other as well. And then just one little story that my kids enjoy. So my one guilty pleasure is I like to go run with my girlfriends on Saturday or Sunday morning. It's my social time, it's how I talk to people in the community, it's how I meet people. But my kids love it when I go running on Saturday or Sunday morning because they expect donuts. So I know it's not healthy. Yes, I'm that mom. I feed my kids donuts at least once a week, maybe every other week. But they like love it because they're like, Mom, you're going running? Go running. So it's like motivation for me to go running with my girlfriends. And yes, I do it like at 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. or 7 a.m. just depending what time of year it is. But it's just wonderful because they're kind of pushing me to keep my self-care up and keeping my social time up by them getting that reward when I get home. So Rosie, you have a lot going on just like I do. How do you find time for yourself with working, your business, your kids, your husband?
There's a lot going on, but I think one of the more stories that I have, very visible stories, is when self-care wasn't a big part of my life. I had just had my first child, and I went back to work after 8 weeks. I really wanted to get back in there. It was my first leadership job. I was a manager, so I really wanted to prove myself. I could do this, balancing the world on top of my shoulders. I'm going to be a great manager, a great mom, and it's not going to impact my performance. I put all this pressure on myself. And I was breastfeeding too, so I was trying to manage breastfeeding and traveling and breastfeeding at the same time. And these are all real world things that sometimes you have to balance. And it just came falling down on me. I got depressed, all the post-hormonal things that happen. I had a very tough manager. He was British, and my mentor's sitting here and she's laughing because she knows who I'm talking about. But a very talented person that pushed me and stretched me to a very uncomfortable way, but I learned so much working for him. And he never took no for an answer. This is a person that was on 24 hours a day, so I had to keep up. And I was trying to keep up at home. And I didn't have good healthy behaviors. I was overeating, I was eating fast food. So I put on about 40 to 50 pounds. And I didn't feel great about myself. I was tired, I couldn't keep up at work. That 2 o'clock, need for sugar that you get where you're just, hey, I need something because I'm not gonna make it till 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, I can't pick up my kids. I would come home, I would drink because I was depressed. And then, my little one got big enough that she would see me, just in a really bad condition. And I was really blessed that I was being mentored at CAT by Vice President. And she told me, hey, why don't you use the flexibility policy that we're trying out? So I was really encouraged. Here's the Vice President. It took a Vice President to go give me the courage. We talked a lot about courage today, to go ask for flexibility. So I came in the next day and I was pumped, and I'm like, I asked my manager, I said his name, I want gonna try this flexibility, and come in 1 hour late every, 3 days a week so I could go work out. And he said no. So my whole plan backfired. I was like, oh man, I can't exercise. I was only gonna come in at 7:30 instead of 6:30, and didn't work. So I said, you know what? I'm not gonna take no for an answer. I'm gonna find a way around this. So what did I do? I had to wake up 2 hours earlier. And I'm so blessed that that person told me no, and that I found a way around it, because now, I've lost maybe 40, 50 pounds, just with new healthy behaviors that are really what give me my motivation. I'm a different person now as far as, the energy level that I have, and it gives me a lot of energy. I need this energy to be a good, sustainable manager at work, and also just to be a good mom. So it's a hard lesson, but I guess what I'm encouraging you to do is find that opportunity to recharge. If you feel like you want to work on your health, find ways around it. There's, what's the Beachbody programs that you can just download them and do them in your couch, in your bedroom, anywhere. There's so many different options for you to stay healthy now, so I encourage you to look into that. If you want to talk to me afterward, I'd love to share that. Oh, you have a question?
So I have a thought on that. So I also have a toddler who's like 18 months old. So it's like an age where they're very active. And sometimes I find that what is convenient for accomplishing like a self-care goal is at odds with what will sustain my network and help me develop that village. And just as a personal example, like I got a Peloton stationary bike in my house, which is amazing for like doing a quick little early morning workout. But I'm definitely not like meeting other moms, other people in my area by doing that. So maybe how do you negotiate that trade-off?
Yeah, so I go spinning 3 days a week in the morning, and I do love it because there's a lot of other people that I get to talk to in the locker room and kind of overhear conversations and build that network. But I also, flex it around, and sometimes I do workouts in my house by myself. So I at least push myself twice a week to go have an interactive class training experience.
Yeah, that's why I wake up early. If I go run at 5 a.m. with my girlfriends, I tell my husband, I'm gone, you're on point, I'll be back at 6. So that's one part of the reason I get up so early. And also in the evening, if I want to go run with girlfriends, I tell my husband, hey, I'm going. It's, like I said, it's a priority, not optional. And he realizes I'm the one that makes those connections. He doesn't, because he's not the social one of us two. So, I don't know, I tag out.
I know, I totally understand. I'm not a morning person, so that's not, and nobody wants to be around me if I were getting up at 4:30. So I did want to put in a plug for a group that actually came out of SWE, Engineering Working Moms, so that Facebook group. So even if you don't have the obvious time to, like I admittedly had a lot of time to build my networks, especially through SWE, before children, but that doesn't mean that you can't reach out to people who might be in your situation who are online. At least get creative. These meetup, I'm all about formal organizations. It may sound geeky, but I have no problem. If there's networks already built, I'm all about finding those people, because if you want to work out, find people to work out with. If you need your painting night or whatever,